universe depends on everything fitting together just right. If one piece busts, even the smallest piece, the entire universe will get busted.
Man, I cannot stop thinking about this movie.
It's like
It makes
that.
you think. Yeah.
I hate to be one of those critics who come out and uses words like haunting, but there's something about the originality of this movie and the fact that they brought in all these people who are non-actors who gave these very realistic performances, even though you can tell they can't act.
Yeah,
but that kind of helped
But
with the movie.
Yeah,
It did,
it's one of those rare times where having non-actors helps the movie.
Yeah.
And it's always scary because I'm like, man, it's kind of sad when you see people who've never acted in their lives, like actually pulling out some great performances where you want to tell the other actors who've been getting paid for all these years, like, will you motherfuckers learn your craft for once, please?
I tell you, Coach, what makes me sad is like seeing a movie like this where, you know, these super impoverished people at almost the end of the world. And normally you go like, there's a part of my brain goes like, well, they're actors. Once the shoot is done, they can clean up and take out the fake teeth and comb their hair and go live their regular lives. It's like, wait, this is an end for these people. They still look like this.
No,
This is their lives.
That is their lives.
Like no craft services table on this shoot. It's like, no, they got to look hungry.
No. There's no room for a craft service table in all this junk that they live in.
No, the craft services table was reaching into the water and pulling out crabs and shrimp and crawfish.
Actual craft macaroni and cheese.
I know this movie at the same time it made me crave seafood yet also be disgusted by it.
I know, right?
Oh yeah. Because this movie, it was a huge hit at Sundance. Some people are saying, "Oh, this is the most incredible thing we've seen in 2 decades at Sundance." I mean, and you listen to it, and you're used to hearing these things at a film festival like that.
Yes, and they're usually overblown. You
Exactly.
go like, man,
You usually want to say, take it easy, man. Take it
right.
easy.
Yeah, it's like, well, Sundance must be at a high altitude where the air is thin because people just come out praising everything.
Oh yeah.
And so going into this, you're like, all right, go ahead and don't impress me.
Yeah, all right.
And you're like, oh, wow.
But
this really is everything they said it was.
Yeah. And even with that kind of praise, you have to be careful because, this movie is very cheap. It's a cheap fantasy film, and they don't have the kind of money to really play up the fantasy aspect of it. And you can tell that, this is almost like watching Waterworld made for $5.
You know what it felt like to me? It felt like watching one of those Miss Peaches movies, like fry that chicken, fry
like that
chicken.
YouTube video.
Yeah, where they're always shooting those videos in the junkyard or something.
Yeah.
With like a shack, and they got a grill they made out of a shopping cart. It looked like that crazy.
I've never seen those, although that sounds accurate. But the whole time I kept thinking like the thing that impressed me most about this movie is like, this movie is so original. I can't think of anything to compare it to.
You're right.
It's got certain looks, but the only thing I even came close to me was like, wow, in some ways it reminds me of a Miyazaki film. But like if somebody only had, like you said, like $5 to shoot it with.
And
like
it's all live action.
Yeah, it was all live action, so they couldn't do anything wild, but they got that tone and spirit of it at times. Not the whole thing, but
yeah, that's what's amazing about it, because there's a lot of things amazing about the movie. The filmmaker's 29 years old. The filmmakers, I'm trying to see his name right here, Ben Zeitlin, who made this with a group of filmmakers. I don't know if they all went to college together or if these are filmmakers that just came together under one effort. They call themselves Court 13. And they're like more of a not so crazy Dogma 95.
I was gonna say, is that like Dogma 95?
Yeah, well, Dogma 95. You don't know what Dogma 95 is. These people just went and shot movies, and they shot them improvisational style. No real big technical equipment, natural lighting, no acting. They are
no
makeup, no script. They just went and did that. These
So
are
pretty much just life, and someone happens to have a camera.
Yeah, and you just film the story where it goes. But these people seem a little more practical in their approach. These are people who have very original ideas, and it seems like they're making these stories because they're going to be hard to make in the mainstream way of getting these films done. And this is really, truly one of the most original movies I've seen in a long time. And because it's one of those films that you can describe as a science fiction film or a fantasy film. But as I said, it's so rooted in real life by the people that they have in there and by the inability to play those fantastical parts
So
up.
I didn't get to see this, but I have watched the trailer,
Uh-huh.
and everything you're saying right here doesn't make any sense to me, having seen this trailer, like which was very unclear what the movie.
Well,
was
I was
about
that's
as
what I was
well.
about to say
So
because
what is the actual story? Of
well,
this
that's what I was
film?
going to say. It seems like a science fiction film because what they have here is they have this place in the bayou that's called the bathtub, and these people seem to live there because they're cut off from the mainstream, whatever this other place may be. It seems like there's where life goes on. These people have been cut off from that by these levees because this whole thing is an allegory for Katrina.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah, it
imagine
really is.
like say there was a second disaster like Katrina, and Louisiana just say like, hey, look, we just got to wall off this area here because it's too much of a disaster. And you had just a group of people who said, "It's my home, and I ain't leaving.
Yeah,
I'm just stay here. I don't care." And the government's like, "No, we're telling you, evacuate."
Well, it's like in Demolition Man.
Yeah, in a way. And that's what they tell these people. They say that they can't live there, and these people don't want to go to whatever processing center or shelter that they're going to put them in. But you look at it, and you can tell that this isn't exactly our world. And they keep talking about the people who live in the bathtub. They keep talking about how their home, the end of the world is coming, which probably means the end of their home because the polar ice caps are melting, and it's going to. One day this flood is going to come in and cover this whole place in water. You can already see things submerged in it. But really at the heart of that, that's the backdrop. At the heart of it, you have this guy named Dwight and his daughter named Hush Puppy. And Dwight in real life, I forgot the actor's name, but the guy's a baker. And the girl is 6 years old. The actress was 6 years old when this movie was made. And it's their relationship throughout the film that is the real story. And I don't want to say too much because it's a very complicated relationship because you don't know how to feel about it
Really?
at the beginning because it
crazy.
seems abusive.
It's very crazy, and it does seem very abusive. But I think that's what also helped, the movie as far as the tone of it. Because I was like, because I walked in this movie cold. I mean, I had no idea
That's right.
what to expect, what it was even about. And for a while, I was like, okay, I guess this is the prequel to Waterworld in a way. But I was like, man, but you know what? Out of all the, I guess you could say the post-apocalyptic movies I've seen, this would be the more realistic version of one, where you're just surrounded by junk. You don't know if you're going to be, submerged underwater the next night. And you're literally scraping by, just to feed yourself and take care of yourself, making sure that, you're going to get through this.
It's the closest one that shows you a realistic view of a day to day of post apocalypse.
Oh yeah. And the relationship with the with the daughter and the father.
Yeah.
That's also,
It's so crazy
really
that the
crazy.
daughter has her, because all these homes are built with junk and sheet metal and whatnot, that it's scraps that people could find. They make motorboats out of the back of pickup trucks and shit. And the daughter, who's 6 years old, has her own house.
But it's like a mobile home stacked on top of some bricks. or stacked on top of some other junk.
Yeah.
I don't mean like just like 3 or 6 feet high. I mean like 20 feet up in the air.
Well, I kept thinking, who in the fuck built that?
By the way, the actor's name is Dwight Henry. The character's name is Wink. But there was a moment in the movie where Wink tells Hush Puppy, he's like, "Hush Puppy, go home." And you think like he's going somewhere. He's telling her to go home, but no, he's going to his house and she's going to her house. I'm like, what the fuck?
I was like, man, that's the best setup ever. I don't even have it that good.
Yeah, I was jealous of her, man.
I know, man.
The first 30 minutes is all watching a 6-year-old girl in peril at every turn. It's like almost to the point of being exploitative. It's just like, you're just like going like holding your head like, fuck, what's going to happen to her? Is anybody going to help this little girl out? Come on.
It's like you're watching a documentary because you're just watching this girl like rummage through all this junk. And, the camera is just on her the whole time. And I was wondering, okay, is this one of those mumblecore movies where they're just going to let her do whatever, she needs to do just to give everybody the idea that she is living in this crazy, crazy world. But that's one of the things. I think that's what sells you on the characters, that you buy into her situation.
Yeah.
So when she gets into it, when she gets into to worse situations, especially revolving around her father, where you realize that she also has her father, but this whole other separate group of people living through this mess. You know, you start to see that this is a girl who has to grow up really fucking quick.
Yeah.
You know,
And
even in her, they have a great scene where there's a school with a bunch of other, with a few other kids. And, you know, you have a school teacher telling them, look, you guys, you're either going to survive this or you're not, because you know what? If you don't, then all you're doing is acting like a bunch of pussies. And they literally are telling the kids, don't be pussies. You know, you got to survive and this is what you got to do.
Class dismissed.
This motherfucker. Get out of here.
Now go out and play.
And I thought, wow, that's really great. That's not a product of Hollywood. That seems like a product of real life.
Are you sure you still want to get your teaching certificate?
Yes, I can. After this movie.
I feel like I should alert an authority somewhere.
That would be the kind of class you would teach. I know y'all 6 years old, but y'all ain't gonna make it in this world if y'all keep acting like a bunch of bitches and pussies. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? Now get the fuck out my face.
You got to get your dick out of your ass and listen for once, all right?
Now who wants some motherfucking cookies?
Yeah, hungry? Good. Stay hungry.
Yay!
You want me to give you some milk? You want some milk? Well, ain't nobody gonna give you milk. Why don't you watch Goatsy? He eats his own milk.
I tell y'all what, y'all want some milk? There's a goddamn cow out there in the backyard. Go milk that motherfucker and bring me some.
You hungry? Eat shit.
But this girl is the thing that really is getting this movie a lot of press is this actress. I'm gonna fucking name her, but whatever. Cuban Zane Wallace is I believe her name. And
the first thing I thought is like, she needs to get another name.
Right.
Yeah, baby, you ain't gonna make it in Hollywood,
No.
you know. Yeah, call yourself Q, you know, QW. But Cuban Zane Wallace is the girl was 6 years old when they filmed this, and that girl is tough, man. I mean, she has to. You're right, Coach. That's a great point because she has to grow up quick, and you're feeling bad for this girl because. You're thinking, man, there's alligators everywhere, and this girl is everywhere around this bayou, and she's playing in the water. And I mean, even to a point, you're just looking like, damn, would somebody take this girl and comb her nappy ass?
That's the least of her worries. Yeah. She's around fire to cook for herself,
running around with skid marks in her drawers and shit.
and it's one of those things where like she's in so much peril just because she's a 6-year-old girl on her own, and then on top of all this. There's a storm coming. And it's like, God damn, these people cannot catch a break.
Yeah, she's cooking cat food, setting a house on fire. It's like, man, this girl is going it's going to be like, she's going to be dead in the next 48 hours if somebody doesn't come take care of this girl.
It's like a snuff film.
And that's what keeps you invested because you're wondering, is she going to die?
At some point, she's like dysentery or disease or something.
Is this ultimately just a her versus nature film? Or
No,
is there a real antagonist?
It's her with her and her father, and that's the thing about the movie.
There's a plot that kicks in.
It's really about, and we don't want to say too much about the relationship with her and her father because it does develop and grow in so many different ways that's unexpected in this movie. But this girl is amazing because you could tell this girl is very mature for her age as just a person. That's why they out of 3,500 6-year-olds that were there, they picked her. You can see it. There's a point where she's in a fight with her father, and the father, treats her like an adult because she needs to grow up fast. And this girl has the attitude and the facial expression, the body language to convey that maturity. There's a point she looks at her father and says, "I wish you were dead, and when you die, I'm gonna come and dance in your grave and eat birthday cake every day." And it's like, damn, girl. Even the father just drops on the ground. He's like, oh shit.
He was like, birthday cake?
Yeah, birthday. What the fuck? Bitch, you ain't gonna get no birthday cake if I'm dead. Now go home.
Yeah. You're lucky you were birthed.
Yeah. But the other thing that captures this is like we say, all the actors in here, man, it's a community of people that just feel very real and just extremely nasty. There was one point where they walk into a room and it's a mixed, it's so many different races that's in this bayou too. And you usually love seeing them all.
It's very Louisiana.
It is like very Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so great to see them all work together. And whatever's on the outside, you do feel that opposition because this bayou, what's not apparent at first becomes very obvious that they're a family. This community is a family and they're all raising each other and looking out for each other. There's a flood coming and nobody wants to leave. And half these people are going to die, but most of the people say, you know what, so be it. This is where I live. If I die here.
In the bathtub, I'm going to die in the bathtub.
Yeah, this is where I want to be when I go down. So, and you do feel that with these characters being so strong with each other, but they are some of the nastiest, greasiest motherfuckers. They're eating, they just eat shrimp and and crab and all kind of bugs and shit off the floor that already looks like somebody threw up on it.
Yeah,
and I'm being serious. It's like, fuck, man, nasty motherfuckers.
That is something the earth shitted up. Let me because that's what it looks like. But, you know, it's funny though. The whole like watching it, you can't help but think about Katrina. Where I was like, you know, even though when I was watching the movie, I was a little confused at first. I honestly thought the story was going to basically be, here's a small group of people who have forgotten that the whole catastrophe of Katrina ended. You know, I thought they were still like, they were a small part of Louisiana where they forgot that people actually came in and helped them. I thought at the end of the movie, like they were just going to go, these people have been lost. They had no idea that, you know, that whole mess was all cleaned up. They just got lost out there and nobody remembered them.
It's like the equivalent of somebody who hid in a bomb shelter thinking that the nuclear bomb was
like
fall.
those Japanese soldiers who were like stuck on a Polynesian island, didn't know that World War II was over.
I think about the scene in Apocalypse Now, where they go find that family, that family out in Vietnam, where it's like a French family, and they're acting like the war's not even going on, and they just have no clue.
They're so
it.
insulated,
but you know, the story doesn't take that route, but I mean, I did love, because I mean, it made me think, wow, you know, I would love to see a movie about Katrina, because I'm sure it wouldn't be too far from what this is, you know, especially with them like trying to figure out if they're even going to make it the next night, you know, considering like all the forces of nature that are, you know, against them.
This is kind of that movie though. Like I said, it's very influenced by Katrina. This director went and lived with a bunch of people in Louisiana, and I guess he just kind of felt like, you know, I want to tell a Katrina story, but in my own original vision, which he did. I mean, and we're sitting up here praising this movie. I love this film. I really do. And this is one of those movies where I was sitting up there and I was thinking, oh, here comes this old artistic shit right here. Where is this going? But by the time it was over, I was like, I love this. But for some people, and this is me just kind of warning people if you go in because of the praise that goes behind it. One of the problems with the movie for me, and it's not a big problem, but it's just, I could tell where, even though this is cheap and it works to this movie's effect greatly. I almost fear what this director would do with a bigger budget because I don't know if it would take away from his creativity. But there are some scenes that they want to pull off that they just don't have the money to do. Just the mere settings of what they have. I don't want to reveal too much, but there is a scene that's supposed to be set in a processing station, and you can tell they just set this shit up in a empty lot somewhere,
or a school cafeteria.
And the whole thing centering, even the actions that follow around that just don't seem to be convincing because they just don't have the money to pull it off. And that would be probably my biggest problem with that. But one of the most impressive things with this, for the money that this movie spent, is there's this visual metaphor that's going on throughout the movie. They talk about this beast that wanders the wild, the southern wild. What's that? What are they called?
The aurochs.
The aurochs, yeah. And they actually show these beasts throughout the movie as this girl becomes more determined in whatever it is that she's doing. They show, or when they talk about this storm that's going to come or this impending event that's going to happen, it's all done through the visual of these beasts. You actually see these creatures rushing their way to the southern wild, and they look real, man. I can't figure out how they did it.
Real, aren't they? Because when they're just like a form of ox, and
I never heard of them before.
These look like
these are like these are like boars, but they're like huge creatures.
Yeah, but instead they have their back. Yeah, they have tusks on their head instead of coming out there. They have horns.
Especially the way they incorporated those visual effects, it actually took me back to the old school days of how Terry Gilliam used to do his kind of crazy practical effects, making things bigger than life, but you know, it worked for this movie. I mean, because that's something I was really impressed with.
What I can't figure out though is, at first I thought they were just filming animals with like, I thought they were just filming boars with horns on their head, or pigs with some prosthetics on. But there's a point in this movie where those pigs were acting. You know what I mean? And they were huge, and I was confused. I really am. I like to fancy myself as somebody who knows an effect when I see it. And this movie, I don't know what the fuck I don't know how they did that.
It just made me go, will somebody film a goddamn Princess Mononoke movie already?
Some people say
it's called Princess Mononoke.
some people would say
Real
that
live Cyrus.
actually some people would say that's the what's that movie the Huntsman and Snow White and the Huntsman.
Snow White and the Huntsman.
But you know what? I've gone on a whole lot about this movie. I would just say that this is a film you have to be expected to not be wowed by any visuals of it, except for those pigs I was talking about, and be prepared for a fairly simple and inexpensive looking movie. But I think it's a brilliant film. I really can't stop thinking about it. And I back up all the praise that it's been getting recently. And I don't usually like to follow the crowd on that. Yeah, I give it a big full price.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on almost everything you said. I mean, that scene where they have the confrontation with the Aurochs, it's one of those where it's like, it works as long as you don't stare at it for too long. And you just gotta keep in mind, like, wow, these guys really had no money. So come on, give them a break.
Yeah.
Leave him alone.
Yeah, leave them alone. But as far as being something like just so original, like, something I haven't seen, it's like, man, bravo on doing that. Cause I, so often feel like, well, I've seen everything and you might do a better version of it, but okay, so what? Yeah, and it delivers. Those performances, they really do stick with you. The way the whole thing is put together. And I would also give it a full price.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I mean, like I said, I walked in cold, but just not having any idea what the movie was going to be about, it really sucked me in. And that was due to the performances, especially the little girl, because you are wondering, like, is she going to survive the rest of this movie? Like, and if she does, how is she going to do it? Where is this journey going to lead? Involving her and her dad, because you actually do care about them, as fucked up as their family dynamic is. For that world and that setting, they hit it right on the head with how they portrayed them. I mean, you couldn't help but, just wonder, like, where else is this going to go? Because it takes you into places where you never expect, and that was one of the brilliant things about it. But I was really impressed by the cinematography, just the attention to detail. With, they could have easily just filmed this in a junkyard, but it seemed like everything had a purpose on these sets that they built, to help tell the world. But I'm still floored by it. It's one of those movies, smaller movies that, you want to tell your friends who are into like post-apocalyptic shit, look, check this out. It's not Road Warrior.
Right.
But it's just as interesting, so, take that for what it's worth. But, it's a full price for me, definitely.
Some people still living in apocalypse in Louisiana.
I know. Some people are going to watch, they're like, I wish I had it that good.
I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people. All I'm thinking is like, why am I paying so much fucking money for fucking seafood dinners at Long John Silver's where I can just go stick my head in the mud and pull up all kinds of good shit?
Really, I just want to say this really is, maybe I'm going to close out on too serious point here, but I have to stress that this is one of those movies that, it's different, but you really did feel this director's heart in everything that he was doing, right down to these characters in this story.
Oh yeah.
So,
that's the selling point. That's what sold it for me.
As I say this with my beret and my, and my glass of water with a flower in it.
You're gonna be the king of bad talk. I promise that.
In a million years, when kids go to school, they're gonna know. Once there was a hush puppy, and she lived with her daddy in the bathtub.